and welcome to Book Witches with a B. My name is Orja.
My name's Colleen.
And we have a podcast called Book Witches with a B, where we talk about some of our favorite books, and we like to do deep dive discussions. To give you some background, I studied literature in college.
Yeah, I studied sociology with a minor in cinema and literature.
And so we're going to bring those lenses in to talk about some of our favorite fantasy books on this podcast. So if you enjoy reading and you enjoy like book club type discussions, join us.
Join us, y'all.
We've done this so many times.
Why is it still so bad? Okay, welcome,
I don't know.
everyone. Welcome to Book Witches with a B.
Boop, boop.
We're in our fourth wing era right now.
We are. Yes. We're very excited about it. We love it.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about chapters 21 through 25, and I'm going to go ahead and start the chapter recap.
Yay!
Also, I decided that I'm just going to read the excerpt before each chapter in the chapter recap.
Very fair. They're very
Okay.
interesting, so.
Yes. All right. Chapter 21. Don't freak out if you can't immediately channel your dragon's powers, Mira. Yeah, I know you have to be the best at everything, but this isn't something you can control. They'll channel when they feel you're ready, and once they do, you'd better be ready to manifest a signet. Until then, you're not ready. Don't push it. Page 61, The Book of Brennan. All right, so Liam Mari has been accompanying Violet everywhere, including the library duty, for the past week. Violet is annoyed to find that Liam is actually nice. If it weren't for the bodyguard thing, she'd probably be friends with him. We learn that Liam likes to whittle figurines, wooden figurines, that is, and he's like constantly doing so. Violet notes with increasing discomfort the hostility towards the marked ones by everyone, including the scribes, now that she's constantly accompanied by one, which is sad and interesting.
I love Liam deeply. I'm stating that up front. I love
Me
him.
too. He's wonderful.
He's
Liam
wonderful.
Liam and Violet discuss Xaden a little, Violet realizing that Liam actually really knows Xaden. Then they meet Jesinia in the scribe quadrant in the archives, and Jesinia, bless her, is not hostile or rude towards Liam, but actually friendly, and Liam knows how to sign, which is exciting.
It's incredible.
Also, he
And
flirts
she's
with
surprised.
Jesinia.
I ship them immediately.
Immediately. He's a shameless flirt,
Immediately.
apparently, so.
I mean, I know Xaden is great, but like, Liam seems wonderful.
Liam is like the Lucian of not quite, because
Yeah.
the dynamic is different between like the dynamic is different, but if I was going to compare him to a character based upon likability alone, I would compare him to Lucian.
Which we know how much I love Lucian. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. If you don't, go back and watch season 1.
So Liam tells Violet that she would have been wasted as a scribe, which I think is really incredible. I love Liam so much. It's fine. We find out that Liam and Xaden were fostered by the same family after the rebellion. All the orphan children had to be fostered afterwards. Violet seems surprised by this, and we'll find out a little bit more about why as we go on through this. We find out that Aracia, which is Tyrandura's capital, was burned down, and apparently the reason that Violet is surprised that Liam was fostered is because she didn't realize that he was an orphan. Apparently, Liam's father wasn't on the death roll from execution day, and he wasn't a part of the rebellion, but he was executed at the family house, also in front of Liam, poor thing. And then we also find out that Liam was separated from his younger sister, so they were fostered in separate houses, which is just, I mean, so cruel, so awful.
It's horrific. Yeah,
Yeah.
that feels really unnecessary to do. And I don't know if they did that to all sibling pairs. I don't know if we know of anyone else, but that's intriguing.
I'll keep an eye out as we keep reading to see.
Yeah.
We find out now about the forced conscription, not only, so I think Violet is surprised. She knew that people like Xaden, whose parents were like actively involved in the rebellion, they were forced to conscript. She didn't realize how many people were forced to conscript, though. And we find out that all of the Tirish orphans were forced into conscription, not just the ones who were directly related to like the rebellion leaders. 68 of the officers had kids under the age of 20, which means that there's 107 marked ones. Xaden is the oldest, and the youngest is
Bless
now
them.
6, which means that she was like a baby, and she's going to be forced to conscript, which is crazy. So,
Especially when they conscripted like what, 20? So I
yeah,
mean that's a long time.
I know. Like, she was
Yeah.
literally a baby. She had literally nothing to do with it.
I mean, I don't think any of these kids did. I don't think that's the point,
Yeah.
in theory.
After that shocking conversation, Jasenia comes back and she says, I have this one scroll for Professor Markham for Battle Brief. They were like, yeah, great, we can hand that off. So as they're going and leaving the scribes quadrant, they actually drop the papers, and Violet catches a sentence in the papers on the battle brief, which I have a note to read. The conditions at Somerton are of particular concern. A village was ransacked and a supply convoy looted last night. What does it say? Liam asks. Somerton was attacked. I flip the scroll to see if it's marked as classified, but it isn't. Violet checks in with Taryn about Andarna. She'll be sleeping for a few days after gifting her power to Violet a couple of days ago. Liam and Violet bond over not having a signet yet. We find out that Rhiannon has also not manifested, and neither has Riddick. They haven't been able to channel lesser magic yet either, so they aren't going to Professor Carr's class yet. Once they get to Battle Brief, Violet notices that no one has to stand anymore because so many people have died, and there's even a few empty seats in the classroom,
It's
which is
awful.
sad. I just have a note here. Liam is a shameless flirt, and I love it.
He is. I love him so dearly. I also love this just like very sweet, like jolly little man just whittling away.
Yeah, it's amazing. I also say they touch on the inkless quills again, because now several of their classmates can write without ink.
That's kind of incredible.
Yeah. The sexual innuendos that ensue are hilarious. There's just a lot. They talk about Violet being covered during the night, and
Yeah.
to name one of my favorites. And then apparently Xaden warded Violet's door so that only she can open it, but of course also Xaden, since he's the one who warded it. Professor Markham calls the class to order, but instead of going over what happened in Somerton as Violet expects, he announces that they will analyze the Battle of Javar, which is a historical battle, and indicates to the class that the battlefront is currently quiet, which is not what the scroll Violet said. And she has this moment of realization no one else in the class, other than her and Liam, know that a village was ransacked. Violet and Liam figure that Violet must have missed the scroll being marked as classified, but she feels weird about it because, as we heard, she checked. All right, chapter 22. The first rush of power is unmistakable. The first time it forms to you, surrounds you with a seemingly endless supply of energy, you'll be addicted to the high, to the possibilities of all you can do with it, to the control you hold in the palm of your hand. But here's the thing, that power can quickly turn and control you. Page 64, the Book of Brennan. The rest of November flies by with no mention of Battle Brief, making Violet wonder what else they haven't heard. Violet still can't channel at this point. Violet has gotten stronger and faster, and she's practicing hand to hand with the others in her squad. And Dane refuses to even look at her because, if you'll remember, Amber just got caught for trying to kill Violet and died, and Dane was like, "You're lying, everyone's lying." It was a bad moment. So apparently he's
There's,
playing it real mature.
I mean, I also think there's some shame in there, surely. Like, he definitely has an avoidant situation. If it's bad, avoid. So,
Liam refused to spar because Jack Barlow is in attendance as well. Violet is entirely distracted by Xaden. She's got it bad and she knows it. And they
I
have
mean,
some
fair.
and they have some fun verbal sparring as well.
We love a verbal banter.
Okay, yeah. Rhiannon and a lot of people are surprised by how Violet talks to Xaden because she's very sassy and he's very dangerous. And then I have read an excerpt because I think I found it hilarious as well. Okay, so basically they're sparring and Rhiannon is taking it easy on Violet. And she goes, challenges resume after solstice, I remind her. You're not doing me any favors by holding back. She's not wrong, a deep voice says from behind me. In my peripherals, I see Liam stand, and I mutter a curse under my breath. Well aware, I say over my shoulder as Zayden passes by our mat, accompanied by Garrick as usual. It's impossible to rip my eyes away until he passes, though. Gods, I have it bad. Go away unless you have something useful to say. Move faster. You'll be less likely to die. How's that for useful? He calls back, taking up a position on a mat closer to the center of the sparring gym. Rhiannon's eyes flare and Liam shakes his head. What? The way you talk to him, Rhiannon murmurs. What's he gonna do? Kill me? I charge forward, swinging my staff at her legs. Oh, and then I have another excerpt to read. So they're sparring, and then basically Violet's like doing pretty well, and then it says, then I make the mistake of glancing over her shoulder toward the center of the gym. Holy effing hot. Basically, Zayden and Garrick have stripped off their shirts and they're sparring like their lives depend on it. And it's beautiful and hypnotizing, like a lethal choreography that makes her hold her breath whenever Garrick goes in for the kill and Zayden deflects. And she reflects like she's seen a lot of shirtless men sparring, but not those two, not Zayden. She's seen plenty of shirtless men. She's never seen Zayden shirtless before. She's very affected. As she's like thirsting over Zayden, Rhiannon gets a hit in on her hip and she's like, you need to pay attention. And then all of a sudden she catches sight of the two sparring, and then it's revealed that everyone in the gym has stopped and like plenty of people are standing there enjoying the sight of them sparring. And
Liam.
Liam is like, stop objectifying her wing leader.
You, I'm sure. Well, like I'm sure, like they're like foster brothers, right? He's like, that is like a sibling. Ew, stop it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He's like, not in front of
Anyways.
my eyes.
And Dane is acting really pissy, which I think is hilarious.
I mean, valid.
As they get back to sparring, Rhiannon knocks Violet down and Jack taunts her. During his taunting, he accuses Violet of hiding behind protectors, which Violet admits to herself is a little true. She won't fight him because she's not sure she'll win, and the only reason he's not attacking her is because Zayden and Liam and Garrick and Imogen, etc., are all there to protect her. So Violet is incensed, so she tells everyone that he ran at threshing because he's a coward. Jack loses it and lunges at her, and is forced out of the gym by Liam and locked out by Zayden. And then Violet and Zayden get into an argument about safety and then about trust. He keeps telling her that she needs to trust him. She keeps being like, why would I do that? She's like, I don't
That
have a choice. Like, I
never goes
get that
away.
if I die, you die, but why would I trust you?
It never goes away. I really wish it did.
No.
It
She
doesn't.
she does say you may not be able to kill me, but you can still hurt me, which kind of puts him, he's like, oh, shoot. I mean, I never thought of that. But
Yeah, it's true.
I fear she's talking emotionally more than anything else, though.
I don't think she ever stops talking emotionally. Gotta be honest. That is not a
Let's
spoiler.
see.
That just is a
No, it
character
never
trait.
stops. It never
It
stops.
doesn't.
Zayden also calls out Dane for his conveniently inconsistent behavior towards Violet's safety. And then, as he's turning back to put his shirt back on, Violet notices that scars actually line Zayden's back. Apparently, Taryn and Andarna deem Violet quote unquote ready based upon this whole situation and her handling of it. So later in her room, Violet is annoyed with how she acted earlier when all of a sudden she feels an enormous blast of energy consume her entirely and thoroughly, quote, forging something new. And Violet rejoices. She's channeling power. As she tries to find someone to tell, all of a sudden she starts feeling incredible lust. She has to stop herself from pouncing on Liam.
Valid. Very valid.
And she
But
realizes.
bless him.
Sorry, what?
I said bless Liam, but also valid.
Valid. She realizes that it's Taryn's lust that's overpowering her, and I just wrote, yikes.
That would be so uncomfortable.
She's like, I need to get away from people. So she like puts on her jacket and she runs outside. And of course, she runs into Zayden, who is smoking something called churum, which is probably close to like weed or something.
That's what it seems like, yeah.
I would say so. Apparently, he can feel the lust too, Segale's lust, that is, and getting high can help distance oneself from those feelings. I wrote in parentheses, LOL, all caps. And then I just wrote lots of flirting. Guys,
Honestly,
this
so much.
this like stretch of chapters, not a whole lot actually happens for like chapter summary, but there's just so much sexual tension between Violet and Zayden. It's so funny.
This is that like slow burn part. They don't really have a slow burn, but like slow
Mm-mm.
burn, like bantery thing, I would say. There was pretty much immediate interest, at least on Violet's part, I think. I don't know about Zayden's, but
I agree.
yeah.
So basically, Zayden is like, try smoking. And she's like, no, we're not allowed to smoke that stuff. And he's like, well, shield. And she's like, I don't know how to shield. I haven't been to any classes teaching me how to do so. So he's like, okay, okay, I got this. So he proceeds to try to teach her how to shield so that she can block out the overpowering lust coming from Taryn. And apparently, Violet does it. And Zayden calls her astonishing, which we knew she was, because apparently not even Zayden was able to do this for weeks, and Violet did it like on her first try, essentially. And the way she does it is really cool, and we'll get into that a little bit later.
Mm.
And then they kiss, and it's amazing. Obviously, it's out of control.
I so if, screamed the first time I read this. I was like, yes. We all like men that can maybe kill us and want to kill us, but a little
Well,
kissing
yeah,
is fine.
kissing is
I was
great.
I was I screamed both times I read this book. Actually, well, three. I think I read this three times. Um, but yes, I always get very excited at this part.
Yeah, it's amazing. Violet is out
Hmm.
of control, and they only break apart at the flash of lightning following and the following thunder, which we will talk about in the deep dive discussion because I have things to say. Zayden steps away, insisting that this isn't Violet's want that they're pursuing, and he won't cross that line, not knowing that she's been obsessed with him for literally months now. And it's also obvious to everyone else that the feeling is mutual, but Violet feels rejected regardless. It's fine.
It's fun, but I also love a consent king who, like, very clearly is like, regardless of like, even if you want me, I think he's like, there's just no way you can consent in this context. Like, you're just not even in control of your own emotions,
Yeah,
which is
agreed.
fair.
All right, chapter 23. The most worrisome sight for any instructor is most definitely when powers backfire. We lost 9 cadets my first year to signets that could not be controlled from their first manifestation. Pity. Major Offendra's Guide to the Writer's Quadrant, unauthorized edition. So the next morning, Violet is in Rhiannon's room. Rhiannon is pro exploring Zayden, and she wants the details, and a little bit of girl talk ensues. They discuss what might happen next year when Zayden graduates. Mated dragons can't be away from one another for too long, and dragons can't be away from their riders for too long. It's going to be complicated.
Yeah.
Liam barges in looking for Violet, and Rhiannon pushes him out. Rhiannon can now summon things to and from her, her signet manifested. She can summon slash retrieve things, is basically what it is. I think it also means that she can like walk through walls, essentially, eventually.
Which is incredible. She's
Hmm.
like a cool Matilda.
Yeah. Liam gifts Violet a wooden carving of Tarn, and he says that he wanted to give her one of Andarna as well, but he doesn't get to spend too much time around her. And Violet is just like, yeah, yeah, she's really private, you know, because she's got a secret.
Secret.
As they're walking, Violet gets distracted by Xaden again, and then Dane sneaks up on her and is trying to talk to her. He tries to talk about why he was so upset. Violet didn't tell him what had happened with Amber. She informs him that he didn't ask her for her memories. He actually tried to take them without her permission, which he seems very taken aback. I don't think that he totally I do think that he was panicking too much in the moment to realize what he was doing.
Yeah.
I will give him that.
Agreed. Yeah.
They also talk about trust and the lack of trust that Violet now has in him. And Violet tries to really tell Dane how the way he's treated her hasn't taken any of her own feelings into account and how that's like changed. That's changed fundamentally something between them. Dane
Mhm.
warns Violet about Xaden again, but this time it's different. He says, he's got secrets and he could use you against someone as a vendetta and like he's dangerous. And she's like, hold on, were you actually trying to just get me away from Xaden and not the Dragon Riders quadrant? Like, she's so done with it. But then because it's Dane and because it's Violet, he like tries to break the tension and they kind of leave things on a neutral note. It's not like we're friends again, but it's not like hostile anymore. Violet goes to Professor Carr's class for the first time, and then we get this really sweet tidbit where Violet's still kind of freaking out about, well, she's bonded to the most powerful writer of their generation. Obviously, she's going to have to go wherever he is when he graduates. And
Mhm.
Rhiannon says, he's not the most powerful writer of our generation, you are, which is true, and I love it.
True and accurate. We love Segale, but Taryn is more powerful.
Yeah. And Violet has
Yeah.
two dragons.
Oh.
December turns to January as Violet continues learning to wield magic and learning to shield from both Taryn and Andarna because they're two dragons, so it's a different thing for each of them. Violet has now won a few challenges without poisoning her challengers, and then she sneaks out one night and she sees that Jack's finally been matched with her for a challenge the next week. Dun dun dun. The morning of the challenge, Violet asks Liam if she can tell him something and if he won't report it to Xaden. Basically, she's like, are you my friend? Or are you just going to tell Xaden? And he's like, is it going to affect your safety? And she's like, it doesn't matter because there's nothing anyone can do about it, essentially. And he's like, fine, I'm your friend, tell me. So she tells him she's been matched against Jack, and then she holds him to his promise. She's like, you cannot tell Xaden. No one can do anything about it. And if he tries to change it, it's going to be really bad considering what happened with Amber already. Like, it's just another thing that he like steps in to save me from. Violet also tells Liam that she has a plan. She's got a vial of something in her pocket. More poison, perhaps?
Ooh.
They're called to the mat. So Professor Emeterio, they're at the challenges. Professor Emeterio calls Jack and Violet to the mat. And Violet is glad that Rhiannon and Sawyer are busy fighting their own challenges so they can't see what's about to happen because she basically is like, I might die. I might actually die. Violet then turns to Liam and is like, you can go find Xaden, go tell him, because at this point, there's nothing anyone can do to stop what's about to happen. And Liam yells at Riddick, like, guard her like you're me. And Riddick's like, got it, no problem. Like, I am on it.
No
You
worries.
go get Xaden. We have to stop this.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna stop. Emetario reminds them no powers. Everyone is very tense. They're not allowed to use their powers on the mat. It's hand to hand only, and they're allowed to use
Mhm.
like one weapon. I think you're not allowed to throw daggers either.
Mm-mm.
They start, and Violet gets first blood, and she's kind of holding her own so far, noting how much stronger her body is thanks to Imogen's training. Jack then gains the upper hand through cheating. He throws a dagger. And then he uses his signet on Violet, which is again very much against the rules. He can, I think, wield electricity. It sounds like he's like shocking. She feels like
Mhm.
bolts of shock and energy going through her face, so I think it's like electricity. As he continues trying to kill Violet by Signet, Riddick yells that he's using his power, and Emeterio and Riddick actually try to go and pull him off of Violet, but they're affected by it as well when they touch him and they like fall back. In a last ditch effort, Violet smashes the vial from her pocket into Jack's mouth and he lets go, turning purple. Riddick catches Violet telling her to breathe. Someone asks what's wrong with Jack. Turns out he's allergic to oranges. Violet poisons him with oranges, and it's my favorite thing in this entire series.
She's it's so it's so good and so simple.
It's amazing.
Truly.
It's amazing. She wakes up in the infirmary. When I wake, I'm not on the mat, and I can tell by the windows of the Healer Quadrant infirmary that night has fallen. I've been out for hours. And that's not Riddick lounged in the chair next to my bed, glaring at me like he'd like to kill me himself. It's Xaden. His hair is tasseled, like he's been tugging at it, and he's flipping a dagger end over end, catching it by the tip without so much as looking at it before sheathing it at his side. Oranges. End chapter 3.
That's such a just like for not like how are you? What are you doing? Oranges.
I love it so
Just
much.
it's so funny.
All right, chapter 24. I know you don't want to hear this, but sometimes you have to know when to take the death blow, Mira. It's why you have to be sure that Violet enters the scribe quadrant. She'll never be able to take a life. Page 70, the Book of Brennan. Violet asks Xaden to catch her up on what happened since she's passed out. Xaden is impressed that Violet used oranges as a weapon. Says something about violence suiting her again. Xaden tells Violet that she should have killed Jack. It would have done everyone a favor. Violet brings up the
Accurate.
kiss because she's physically weak, and so she decides to go for her emotions again. And Xaden says it was a mistake, but that's just because he loves her. I wrote in parentheses. Very clearly, he loves her. Everything he does is to protect her. I'm sorry. He is as obsessed with her as she is with him. I stand by that.
I mean, he's also protecting his own interest, but yes.
He loves her. Otherwise, they wouldn't have kissed.
You've definitely kissed people you don't love, Orchard. That's
Not
not
like
how it
that.
works.
Not like that.
Okay.
I 100% have not kissed anyone like that, but that's just me.
Again, can't agree. Um, so
Okay, hear me out. Then Xaden gives her a dagger that he had made specifically for her because he loves her. And as we know from Lucian giving Feyre a dagger, yes, that was platonic love. However, it's still love.
I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. I feel
Also,
like you thought I was gonna fight you on this. I'm definitely
don't fight
not.
with me, Colleen. Violet, he says it was a mistake because he loves her. Xaden informs Violet that he's taking over everything, training, guarding, etc. Later on, when they're sparring,
Yeah.
because he's taken over everything. I got too excited about the dagger. Sorry, everyone.
The dagger is exciting. Yeah. And we can
Mhm.
get into that later, but yes.
Xaden gives her a dagger that he'd had made for her so that it's more difficult to disarm her. And then there's more
Mm.
flirty sparring, and then I said, like very flirty, get a room. Um, it's now March, and Violet has been training with Xaden for a couple of months. She still hasn't manifested her signet. One day, Xaden pulls Violet from Carr's class despite Dane's misgivings and takes her toward the flight field. They discuss the probability that Violet will be visiting the warfront next year. On their way, they run into Colonel Atos, Commandant Panchak, and dun dun dun, General Sorrengail. Their exchange is cold. Mom, I blurt, and her head turns, her eyes meeting mine. It's been more than 5 months since I've seen her, and even though I want to be as composed as she is, as compartmentalized, I just can't. I'm not built like she is, like Mira is. I'm my father's daughter. Her assessing gaze sweeps over me with all the familiarity of a commanding general and a Basgiath cadet, and there's no warmth in her expression as she finishes her perusal. I hear you're having trouble wielding. I blink and step backward as though physical distance is going to shelter me from the icy rebuke. I have the best shield in my year. For the first time, I'm actually glad I haven't manifested a signet, haven't given her something to brag about. With a dragon like Taryn, I would certainly hope so. She cocks an eyebrow. If not, all of that incredible, enviable power will have been squandered. And then they're like basically very cold to each other. It's horrible. I mean, General Sorrengail, get it together. What is wrong with you?
It's so rude.
So
It's
rude.
rude.
The commanders then ask Violet about Andarna, kind of fishing for information about her, and Taryn warns her not to say anything to them. And Violet makes excuses for why they haven't seen anything, basically kind of reiterating, like, she's very private, including with me, so I don't think that you're going to be able to get a look at her.
She's also
It's
not
apparent,
fully wrong.
yeah, no, that's true.
Like that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
It is, yeah. It's apparent that Xaden and Lilith know each other. Basically, specifically, she makes a remark about the questionable company that Violet's keeping and looks at Xaden. And Xaden says, I always felt that we resolved any of those questions years ago, Xaden says, his voice low, but he's gone taut as a bowstring next to me. Mom turns towards the Citadel in clear dismissal. Do see if you can master some kind of signet, Cadet Sorrengail. You have a legacy to live up to. So clearly something happened between Lilith and Xaden, and that's probably part
Mhm.
of like the secrets that Dane is afraid Xaden is keeping, is what I think. Which Dane
Could
might know what it is because he says something about having higher clearance than her. So if he doesn't know exactly what's going on here, he has an idea of it.
I think it's less higher clearance and more blabbermouth father.
Probably. Probably.
Yeah. I think he just hides it under the guise of clearance.
Yeah. So where were they going all this time when they ran into these people? Turns out Xaden is also going to teach Violet how to stay on her dragon. Basically, he takes her out for like a training session with Sigale and Taryn.
It's taking a little flying trip. It's fine. It's not a date. They're just flying.
They're just fine, it's fine. And now we go
It's
to
fine.
chapter 25. The squad battle is more important than the wing leaders will let on. They like to joke that it's a game, that it's just a bragging rights for the squad leaders and the winning squad, but it's not. They're all watching. The commandant, is it commandant? Have I been saying that wrong this whole time?
It's definitely commandant. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry everyone. My literature brain
You're
just
doing
caught up to me because I read it on the page instead of glancing at my notes.
yeah,
It's
you're
cool.
doing fine.
The commandant, the professors, the commanding officers, they're watching to see who will rise to the top. They're salivating to see who will fall. Page 77, the Book of Brennan. So at this point, the squad battles have been mentioned a little bit, kind of offhand in the book. I haven't mentioned anything in chapter recap because we are going to be talking about it in deep dive discussion, world building. But basically, this is like a set of three events that the entire school competes in, and the winning squad gets the glory of bragging. And this year, they also get the glory of the winning squad gets the glory of going and shadowing an active wing, like on the battlefront. And it's like basically like this whole thing, lots of accolades. It's a huge thing, and it's apparently
I feel
supposed to
like
be fun. I don't know.
I feel like when your prize being you get to go on the front lines doesn't really seem like a treat,
Yeah,
personally.
Violet also said that in her head, just so you know.
It's not a treat. I'm like, wow, we get to go maybe die. That's
Right.
exciting.
How fun.
Untrained. Yeah. Gosh.
All right, so chapter 25 starts. It's the end of the challenges event, which is the second of the third of the squad battles events. And Violet's squad is the third out of 24 squads, which is due in large part to Liam securing their rank with his win on the challenge mat. Usually the third event happens the day after, but surprise! They've moved it up and each squad is on their own. No squad leaders, section leaders, or wing leaders as they've been sequestered. This is to simulate a situation in which the leader dies and the squad needs to nominate a new leader, which, I mean, honestly smart, but also
No, it's a smart tactic.
the mission of the third event: find and acquire by any means necessary the one thing that would be most advantageous to our enemies regarding the war effort. Leadership will serve as unbiased judges, and the winning squad will be awarded 60 points. And they have 3 hours to do so by any means necessary. Imogen is chosen as their leader, and they devise a plan to break into General Sorrengail's office to find, because that's going to be where like the most important stuff is, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, They break in and look through missives and documents, finding some very interesting information, which I will read during world building deep dive discussion. And finally, an idea hits Violet. They steal the map, the ginormous map that has all of the information of Navarre's outposts and battlements, and like the locations of where the army is. Violet uses
That's smart.
more poison master arts to get them out of a sticky situation in conjunction with Imogen's mind wiping power. And they win! End of chapter 25.
Woo!
All right, that's the end of chapter recap. All right, are we ready for section superlatives? All right, section superlatives. Doo-doo-doo.
Woo!
All right, I have thoughts, But Colleen, I'll
Okay.
let you nominate this one. Who do you think is the section MVP?
MVP. Oh gosh. Uh, I'm trying to think of someone that's not Zayden or Violet because I feel like I will always choose them. I'm trying to think what happened in this chunk. I'm gonna say Rhiannon. I feel like she or Liam. Oh, I don't know. Maybe Liam. I love him.
I
Either
expected you to
Rhiannon or
say
Liam.
Liam, I was gonna say, but I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. I like both.
Honorable mention, oranges.
Actually, that's not even the honorable mention. They should just be the MVP. I actually forgot that happened. Which is Violet, but with the oranges. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's yeah, oranges honestly should be the
O-
MVP.
Oranges, I think, do take the title, I think.
No, they definitely should. Yeah.
'Cause yeah.
Liam is the MVP in my heart, but oranges are the actual MVP of the chapter.
Agreed. I like
Yeah.
obviously Liam does a lot. Like he can sign, he's casual, he like is truly I think he truly cares about Violet. He's friends with her.
Mhm.
You know, he makes friends with all of her friends as well. Like
Mhm. He really is the perfect boyfriend, except they're not dating.
correct.
So,
Correct. But then also I really like Rhiannon because of like girl friendship.
Mhm.
The amount she does and cares for Violet.
like the training and just like things that she really seems like she legitimately wants to help her and those kinds of things. Like for we actually really get to see her sparring with Rhiannon,
Hmm.
which I think is really intriguing. But yeah,
Yeah.
I love all of them. But yeah, no, Orange is definitely wins.
Um, who do you think the drama queen is of this section?
Can I go with Taryn because he did not know how to close off his own channels when he decided to get it on with scale? Because that's how I
Yes,
feel. Like
that
he's so old. He should know better. Like he immediately like
he
did
like
he like
channels the power and then immediately.
I feel like he decided to channel it while they were doing it. Like I don't even think he was like, "Oh yeah." Like I don't think there was it was so instantaneous. I think he was just like, yeah, I think some of it was maybe like a little bit not thinking about it necessarily,
Hmm.
but I think he was just like,
Do
yeah,
you
it's
think,
time.
do you think, oh God, do you think maybe he did it by accident because he like lost a little bit of control?
Yes. 100%. I think he was planning on doing it at some point, and so I think he wasn't as guarded when it came to her because of that.
Hmm.
I don't think he meant to channel. Also, if I was Violet and we don't ever get this discussion, I would ream him a new one. The moment it's done, I'd be like, "You are a nightmare. Never do that to me again."
Yeah. I'd be like, what
Figure it
the
out.
actual heck? Taryn,
I'd be like, "Sir, I already have enough hormones. You're in my head. You know. I don't need yours and mine. Thank you.
and like just
You are
like
100 years old. Get it together."
because from what I understand, the reason that it's so overpowering is because he just started channeling. So like their bond is now even stronger.
Yeah, they're more connected.
Yep.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
I'm gonna give it to Taryn his lack of control
I love
is the
that.
drama queen.
I like that so much better than mine because I was like drama queen, like I don't know, Violet's a little bit, Zayden's a little bit, honestly. Dane's
Zayden
always like,
Zayden was my other option in this section. I feel like he is, especially with being like, Liam couldn't protect you, and I'm like, Liam did just fine.
yeah,
Liam did fine. Like, don't even worry about it.
yeah,
But yeah.
truly. Okay, and then craziest thing to happen.
Oh, their kiss for me. I mean, winning the squad battle was exciting, but them kissing for me, I was like, yes. Like it just felt momentous.
Yeah. I don't know. Like there was a lot of crazy things that happened, but the caliber of crazy in this section was so much lower. Like
Yeah.
for the section there was a lot of crazy things, but like compared to the rest of the book, it was kind of like just meh. Not
Yeah,
just
like we don't
meh.
have dragons. Like we already have the dragons. We're not bonding or like, yeah, mass
Yeah.
murder anymore necessarily. But yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
feel
I
like
think you're right.
interpersonally, that's the most important. In terms of like story wise, I guess probably squad battle. I think that section is really interesting, and seeing Violet kind of come into her own that way.
Yeah,
But
agreed. Um, okay. I wanted to add just a new small segment before we get into Colleen's corner, and that
excited.
is naming all of the signets that we find out.
Ooh, yeah, because we're getting a lot of them.
We're getting a lot. So we already know that Xaden wields shadows. Dane can see people's recent memories. We know that Violet Sorrengail controls storms, which is what I wanted to bring into the equation later, which is fine.
Mhm.
Um, and then we know that Imogen can mind wipe recent memories. We find out in this section, Riddick manifests the power to wield ice.
Which is so
Rhiannon,
fun.
yeah, it's incredible.
He's Jack
Um,
Frost. Canon.
oh my God, he is Jack Frost.
He is. He would actually make an incredible Jack Frost, because I feel like
He
Jack Frost
would.
is always like a little goofy, flirty. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little
Yeah.
mischievous.
hmm
hmm
Jack
Um,
Frost. Confirmed.
Rihanna, I love Jack Frost.
I do
You
too.
know
He's
that
incredible. He's one
movie,
of my.
Rise of the Guardians? He's so hot in that movie.
So if you're on the internet at this point in time, there's this like hear me out thing where you like stick a character into a cake. He would honestly be in my hear me out.
He would be in mine as well. I'm sorry, Mom.
I'm not sorry, Mom. You know this. It's fine.
It's okay. Sawyer controls metal. We already knew that. Rhiannon can
Mhm.
retrieve, quote unquote, is what they say. I think it's more of like teleporting. She can teleport objects to her,
Yeah.
but she herself can also move through solid objects.
Eventually, right? Like she can't
Eventually.
can't yet. Yeah. Okay.
Not yet, but eventually. The other
hmm
people on their squad, Heaton can breathe underwater, which is cool. That's a signet that I'd want, honestly.
That one's fun. The mermaid. Yeah.
Yeah. Emery can control wind, which I think we already knew, but he states it again.
Hmm.
And Quinn can astral project, which it plays a huge part in them being able to break into the office. It's very cool.
It's also very protective, which is really intriguing.
hmm
Yeah.
hmm So yeah, those
Love
are
it.
kind of. I don't think. I mean, then we know like Kaori can is an illusionist.
hmm
Um, we
Commandant
know that there's
Panchek can see the
menders.
future.
Yes, yeah,
That's a cool one. I'd like
it
that
is a
one.
cool one.
Yeah.
I don't want that one.
That's fair. And if I was someone who was going to war, I would want that one.
Yes,
Only in that battle context. I wouldn't want it for like normal life, but for that context, I would want to know.
true. All right, Colleen, are you ready?
I am.
Colleen's corner.
Colleen's Corner.
Woo, woo, woo. Okay. Um, so I'm actually going to talk about, since we have gone over season 1, if you have not watched it, go back. I've at Court of Thorns and Roses. I want to do a little comparison between how Feyre handles fear and stress versus how Violet handles fear and stress, because I
I'm
think they're
so
very
ready.
different.
This is
And
exciting.
I think it's really interesting. So I feel like these characters are compared a lot for different reasons, and I do think their stories are very different. So I think that's kind of why some of these differences come in. But I think for me, where I see the biggest difference is in the way that they handle like when they're afraid, essentially. So it's very infamous in A Court of Thorns and Roses, but every time Feyre is afraid, she has watery bowels. Immediately, like, gut feeling of just like nervous, not going well. Um, I feel like Violet, so I she remains a little more calm to a degree, but I think she has more of like a chest fear. So it's gonna kind of get into some like therapy things. But I've been into therapy, not a surprise. I feel like most people my age have. But one of the things that my therapist went over with me was, where do you feel your anxiety? Because people feel it in different parts of their body. Some people feel it in their chest. Some people feel it in their stomach. There's like different places, and so if I was going to assign those to somebody, I feel like Violet like feels her in her chest, like I feel like her chest tightens and like she can't breathe and has those kinds of things. I think we can definitely solidly put Feyre in the gut realm of anxiety.
Yes.
Uh, but I will say once I think they both move past their like initial reactions, I do think they handle it very similarly. Like I think once Feyre like moves past the watery bow element, she really like moves forward and fight. I think Violet gets there faster than Feyre does, but I also think Violet is more confident than Feyre is in her ability and is like significantly less insecure about everything, to be honest.
hmm
Yeah, so I just like how they handle fear and how I think it's a little bit different.
I
That
love
was mostly
that
it.
so much. That was great.
Thank you. Thank you. Just a
Just
little tidbit.
tail end adding to this little, since we're comparing again, Liam and Lucian are the same person in my mind.
I actually didn't think about that until you said it, but I do like from the moment I met Liam, adored him. I was like, who? Well, kind of. I was a little bit like, I am a little bit more. You loved Zayden up front. I was a little bit like, who is this man? When I first read it, I was like, I don't know how I feel about him. I also read this like pretty close after Akatar when I first read it, and so I think I was always wary of like kind of the first love interest type thing because of it. But yeah, I did like once like Liam sort of like the moment that Liam was able to sign to Jacinia, I was like, I'm in love. Just like his very casual, flirty way. I was like, this man's incredible. So I
Agreed.
agree.
He
I
is
think they're the same
incredible.
person.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of Colleen's corner.
Boop.
Woot. Shall we get into world building?
Time for a deep dive.
I'm excited. Yes.
All right. So I have a few things actually. Um, I have a lot actually, so bear with me, folks.
Let's go. I'm excited.
So when Liam and Violet are in the library and they're waiting for Jasenia to come back with the requested books and scrolls, and they're talking about the orphans of the rebellion or whatever. Liam uses the word apostasy for the rebellion, which is the Tyrish term for the rebellion. And I was
Mm-hmm.
curious, so I looked up apostasy because I know it's a real word. Apparently,
Mm-hmm.
apostasy means the abandoning or renouncing of a religion or holding a belief that goes against one's religion. So, if the Tirish call
Oh.
it the apostasy, does that mean that they were rebelling against this religious military system? Which means that
Oh.
it's not just a military kingdom, it's like a military religion kingdom. Like, what
Like a
is the
very
word that I'm
militant
looking
religion.
for? Yeah.
I mean, a cult is what I'm thinking of, but yes. Yeah, I mean, similar to if we're talking about like militant cults, what's the one that was in
Mhm.
Japan? There was one in Japan that was that way, and that's they gassed the subways in Japan, similar to those. I can't think of the name right now, but you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Happened. Oh, okay. So this is a thing. I know a lot about cults. That's my special interest.
Aleph?
Shinrikyo.
Yeah, there
Yes.
we go.
So there was like a leader, and he was very. Some of it, I think, is just elements of discipline that are in the Japanese culture. But essentially, he started a cult. I don't remember exactly why, off the top of my head, why. I don't think in my head the reasoning mattered. But I think it was sarin gas. Essentially, tried to sarin gas a bunch of the like trains and things, and I think a lot of people were injured. I don't think anyone died. But anywho, so they're very cautious now
Wow.
and stuff like that. But yeah, so very similar, like militant style cultish
Yes.
things.
Yes. And
Yeah.
then playing into that is the fact that Violet wasn't aware that so it's not public knowledge that
Hmm.
so many kids were orphaned. Like it wasn't just the leaders of the rebellion that were killed, it was
Hmm.
their entire family, like all of the adults in their family. Everyone under the age of 20 in that family was killed.
Which is common with like older religious like punishment. Also, if we're
Mhm.
like thinking of this as like a larger religious thing, like it wasn't like they killed your whole family. Like honestly, the
Yes.
fact that they left the kids alive is surprising in terms of
But they
that.
very clearly left them alive as like an example. Like this is what
Yeah.
is going to happen to you if you try to do this again, which I think is also
Yeah.
a pretty common tactic.
Mhm. It is. Yeah.
So I thought that was so interesting and I was very excited. Um,
I love that you looked that up because I never did. I was just like, ooh, big word. Cool. Just
I knew that it
moved
was a
on.
real word. Like I knew that it wasn't a made up word for
Mhm,
this world because I had heard it before, but I
mhm.
didn't remember what it meant. And I was like, it's got to mean something. I mean, Rebecca Yarros is a genius, clearly. Everything means something.
So does that mean that they don't burn everything for their dead in Tyrandor?
I
If they're
wonder if
rejecting
that's what they're
like,
rejecting.
well, because if they're rejecting religion, right? There's
Mhm.
which there's other ones. We mostly hear about Malik, I think, because of just where Violet is at this point. I think she mentions maybe the god of luck at some point as well. But I
Yeah.
mean, are they completely rejecting? Like, do they not burn their dead? Like, do they not burn all their artifacts? Like, I don't really know. That's intriguing.
Right, like
If they're rejecting,
what is the specific belief that they're rejecting? That would make the most sense to me, honestly.
yeah. Well, because like there seems to be a reluctance to follow that anyway,
Hmm.
generally in culture by a lot of people. But
Which is why the rebellion gained so much traction in theory.
mhm, yeah,
Woo, I love it.
interesting.
There's this like meme out there, side note, where it's like, I forget the exact wording of it, but it's something like, no, I can't deal with all of the horrible things that are happening in the world. I read fantasy books about conspiracy and governmental conspiracy and oppression instead.
It's so true. But it's not real, so it's fine.
Exactly. There's dragons.
The dragon, honestly, if we had dragons, I think I would be a little happier.
Me too.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Hmm.
Okay, I don't think we have officially mentioned this, but it's a tidbit that I want to bring to everyone's attention because I think it's going to come into play possibly in the third book, honestly. Like, I don't think we even get an explanation in the second book. But every
Hmm.
time that Xaden looks at Violet, her scalp prickles. That's not normal.
It's weird. No,
It's weird.
it's really not.
And it's like it's
I,
not like a like there's not it's before she can wield magic. I mean, sure he can wield magic, but what is that?
mhm.
What is that with his eyes then?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I picture, which I don't think is accurate, but what I'm picturing is him just taking one of his shadows and just like bloop, doing a little, doing a little ruffle on her, just to tie,
I
just to
know that's
mildly
not
annoy her.
happening. I know that's not happening. It's like a
Uh-huh.
sensation. It's like the hair raising on the back of your neck, but her scalp tingles. And I don't know what it means and I don't know why it's happening, but it's clearly important because she mentions it so much, like so often.
She does, yes. She's also like hyper aware that he's around
Yes.
in
And I
general,
will
but yes, yeah.
say, like, if you're a person who's in tune with energy, you
Mhm.
can tell when somebody's watching you. Like, I
Yeah,
will say, like, you know, that experience of like feeling someone's eyes on the back of your head.
yes.
And like, I've experienced that too. Like, I think all of
Oh,
us have
yeah.
probably read, but that is different from your scalp tingling. That doesn't
That's fair.
feel
I
the
think
same.
that's what I assumed it was originally, but I do like the idea of the shadows.
The shadows.
Just
The more I read it, specifically tingling, the more I was like, this is different. I don't know though, because like, guys, mention in the comments what it feels like to you. To me, it feels like a pressure on the back. Like I can feel it's like someone's like touching the back of my head.
there's like a presence, yeah. I don't really know if it's like someone touching, but I wouldn't say tingling is the description I would give it
Mm-mm.
by any means.
Nor I. Oh, one more signet. Liam has super seeing, apparently. Like Liam can see things in the far distance.
He's human binoculars.
Yeah. And then, if you want to know what all of the events of the squad battles are, I have them
Ooh.
listed here. This is given to us by a person by a person named Sienna, who is the executive officer of Violet's wing. And basically she's basically like trashing Violet while she's giving this, which I think is kind of funny. Okay, so she goes, "We're going to win," Sienna, our executive officer, proclaims with a decisive nod. "Sorrengail here might slow us down on the gauntlet." She wrinkles her hawkish nose. "And probably in the wielding department too, at the rate she's advancing." "Gee, thanks." I fold my arms across my chest. "But I can shield better than all of them combined."
Yeah.
But Rhiannon's skills more than make up for that, Sienna continues, and we all know Liam and Heaton are both going to decimate on the mat for the challenge competition. That only leaves flight maneuvers and whatever task the wing leaders come up with to judge this year. So I got it wrong in the chapter summary. Apparently there's 4 events. So it's they
Oh,
have to do the gauntlet again, because why not? Then there's flight maneuvers, mat challenges, and then like the whatever the judges come up, which was the mission that they had, and they stole the map from General Sorrengail's office.
yes. Also, can you imagine how much trouble General Sorrengail got into when that map was presented?
See, I don't think that she got in trouble. I think all of the guards who were supposed to be guarding.
But there was only one.
There were a couple, I think.
Were there a couple? Okay. I just think I get that, but also, regardless, General Sorrengail chose those people to guard her office. I mean,
That's
she
true.
got them in trouble, but I mean, if I was, Pancheck or anyone else, I'd be like, I know it's your daughter, but
Yeah,
that's first and second years. If they can break into it, who else do you think can
right.
break
Who
into
else
it,
can?
ma'am? Like, your
Yeah,
daughter's super smart. Get that. She's not that smart
yeah.
by
That's
comparison.
so funny. That's so funny. Um, okay. All right. Shall we move on to theories?
Sure, I'm excited.
Okay, so when Violet and Xaden are kissing,
I said I was excited. I think you were more excited than me. I think I got that wrong.
okay, so please keep in mind that this context is no spoilers, and I am developing this theory based upon what we know right now. Okay, so Violet and Xaden kiss, right? And
Hmm.
they only stop because Violet sees a flash of lightning and then a boom of thunder. And she mentions like snow thunderstorms are rare, but then we don't hear any more lightning or thunder, right? Okay,
Hmm.
hear me out here. Who cast the lightning? Was it Lilith Sorrengail seeing that her daughter was making out with Xaden from like outside of an office window or something? And she's just like, yeah, absolutely not. And she like flashes. And that's why later on, when they see each other, she's so like cool and dismissive. And she's like, the shady company you seem to be keeping.
I mean, she does live at the college. I mean, that's where Violet grew up and lived. It would not surprise me, and that's actually so funny, and I hope true. Because I honestly can't imagine looking out and being like, ew,
Oh,
no.
that's my daughter.
Stop it. like he's going to kill you. Is he suffocating her through her face? Like, what are you doing? Stop
Yep.
it.
I've been waiting for an hour to mention that, so I'm very excited that I finally got to.
That's incredible. I do love that. If I'm gonna have any theory, and this is not necessarily a theory, if I was at this point in the book was going to give one, we all know I've read more than this. This is just again my personal hopes and dreams is that she dumps Aiden and decides to date Liam instead because I think he's a better choice. He's less
Honestly, I would be
grumpy.
all for that. Yeah.
So what I think similar to I love a little grumpy main character. I really do. But Liam is not necessarily a golden retriever either. Like he's kind of just like that solid, smart, very capable, flirtatiously fun person.
Yeah.
Like there's really just not a downside to him.
Yeah, he's like, I'm trying to think, like, he's not a black cat, he's not a golden retriever. He might be like a
Uh,
sheepdog, like one
I
of the
was like an
sheepdogs.
Aussie, like an Australian Shepherd,
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah.
in that. I was thinking like kind of a German Shepherd, but he's not as serious. But he can
Yeah.
be.
He can be.
But yeah, like an Australian Shepherd, very single-minded, good at what he does, very capable. Yes, yeah. So, my theory is that I hope that she gives up on her weird "he might kill me" thing. I'm into men that might kill me, and go for the man that's right there. Once again, just go for the man that's right there. Please
He's
and
right
thank you.
there. He's right there.
He's right there. He's literally, I think, sleeping outside of your door every night.
Yeah.
Was he told to? Yes. That's fine.
Well, Aussie
I
Shepherd.
think if Violet tried even a little bit, Liam would be like, yeah. Like,
I
I
think
don't think.
Liam suggests it at like multiple points.
I'm kind
Like
of,
jokingly, but
which I think is funny if we're going with your thing that Xaden is in love with her, and Liam knows this and is still like, yeah, but you could also be in love with
yeah,
me.
but
But
I
like, what about
just
me?
I just realized I had something else that I wanted to read that I wanted
Ooh,
to bring up, and
well, I'm excited.
this is my unhinged theory. My theory is that while this is an incredible um like absolutely incredible book, and obviously there's like lots of writers take inspiration from places and stuff. I have a theory
Hmm.
on where this direct quote um was
Ooh,
inspired from. Are you
well, I'm
ready?
excited. I am.
Okay, so this is when Violet has escaped because she's feeling all of Taryn's lust, right? And she runs into Xaden. And she's asking him to teach her how to shield so that she can stop being overpowered by lust.
Mm.
And basically, he goes, "Say please. Are you always this difficult? Only when I know I have something you need. What can I say? I like making you squirm. It's like a sweet little slice of payback for what you've put me through these last couple of months." Hone in on for what you've put me through these last couple of months, i.e.,
Okay.
these last months have been torment, a la Mr. Darcy.
I think she would also say, I mean, Xaden is essentially just like Mr. Darcy with dragons. I think that's accurate.
Yes,
Yeah.
and he also, this is also like not the same at all, but at one point his hand flexes, but his hand's already around her head, so it's not like the incredible hand flex from the Pride and Prejudice movie. It's not that, but his hand does flex when he's like trying to bring her closer to his face. So,
It's
yeah,
close enough.
close
Wait,
enough.
so if we're making Pride and Prejudice comparisons, so if we're saying that Xaden is Mr. Darcy, that would make Liam Mr. Bingley.
Yes.
Yes.
1,000,000% yes.
And Dane's Wickham. Right. Yes.
We did it.
We did it. We solved it.
We did it. That would also make um like Lilith Mrs. Darcy.
Yeah.
Okay, follow my breadcrumbs here. All Not Mrs. Darcy, Mrs. Bennet. All Mrs. Bennet wants is for her daughters to get married, and she like pushes and shoves them. All
Hmm.
Lilith Sorrengail wants is for her children to be dragon riders, and guess what she does? She pushes and shoves Violet through that door.
It's true.
And Mr. Bennet might as
Literally.
well be dead for all of the help he gives them. Sorry, everyone.
Well, I mean, and she also had a really special bond, like Violet had a special bond with her father, similar to how Lizzie had one with. So yeah,
Yes.
Violet's Elizabeth Bennet.
Hmm. She
Easy.
likes to read.
She does. A lot, actually. Yeah.
Is this just Pride and Prejudice with dragons? Pride and Prejudice and dragons.
Mira is a little bit stronger than I would say Jane was, but maybe Brennan was Jane.
Brennan is Jane. Mira's like Lydia or something.
Lydia, she got her stuff together early on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Mira. I don't know. Oh, I feel like Mira is less of like the sisters and more like Carolyn. Is that her friend's name? The like I'm 27 and no prospects.
Oh God.
What is her
No.
name?
Oh shoot. Why don't I remember? I can't believe I don't remember.
Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Charlotte. Yes, I was like, let's see something. Dang it, what is this? I feel like she's more of like Charlotte coded than anything else. What I
Yeah.
would give her. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
We don't know much about Brennan, but he can be the rest of the siblings. It's fine.
Brennan, yeah, he's just a catch-all. It's fine.
I mean, technically Lydia's kind of dead to the family, so maybe he can be Lydia.
We're making some claims. Don't hate us, internet.
He's literally dead. So,
I know. So,
I mean,
yep.
Lydia literally shamed the family by running off. Also, I guess spoilers for Pride and Prejudice. It's been long enough. It's
It's
fine.
if you don't know what
But
happens in Pride and Prejudice now, shame on you, honestly.
unless you're 12 and you're listening, maybe you shouldn't be listening to us if you're 12.
Yeah, if you're 12, please stop listening to this.
We love and adore you, but this is not a young adult podcast. This is
Yeah,
an adult
this
podcast.
is an adult podcast. So, all right. I think that's all that I have. Unhinged theories, unhinged theories. Ooh, how do you think Lilith and Xaden know each other?
I don't know. To be honest, I just feel like Lilith's definitely kept an eye on him. I just kind of assume there was like a keeping an eye on you,
You don't think there was
bucko.
like a Mrs. Robinson tryst?
I honestly don't think that Lilith has a sexual bone in her body, so no. I'm gonna be honest. She seems like I know technically she has children. Isn't that
Three.
what that is? Like there's evidence, but I don't really feel like we see it.
I'm sorry,
So,
but I'm also not sorry.
that is unhinged. I kind of love it. But no, I just don't feel like I still feel like it's Satan's type. I also don't feel like Satan is Lilith's type. So I don't know.
True.
I'm not 100% certain. I just feel like she wrote that excerpt about not thinking that the children should be there to see their parents' deaths.
Hmm.
So I mean there was definitely some sort of interaction, I would assume, since she was involved in the executions and things. But outside
Hmm.
of that, I don't really know, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, he's also been in the War College for what, 3 years now, and she's the head of the college, so there's like truly no telling.
It could be trauma bond or something. I don't know.
It's fair. Maybe he tried
So,
sneaking in her office during the squad battles, but he failed.
ooh, maybe.
There you go.
So, another question for you. Going back
Yes,
to going back to having the channeling of the power and then immediately feeling all of the lust, right?
mm-hmm.
This is the first time that Violet's felt that, right? She's felt like hunger and all of this stuff, but she hasn't felt the lust from Taryn before. That's like a new feeling for her.
Yes. As far as we know, yes.
So my question to you again is what do you think happened there? Like the channeling of the power, immediate lust. What do you
I
think
truly,
Taryn was thinking?
he was thinking with the wrong head, I think,
Huh?
is what he was thinking. And I do really think it was like a slip up almost on his part. I think he clearly left his shields down, which I also, Xaden says this is common. They are old. Like they were like middle-aged dragons. This is not like they're, hunt hungry teenagers. This should not be a normal, regular thing. So they just, oopsie, my shields are down. It feels a little voyeuristic, to be honest. I feel like they should get that under control.
They really need to. Agreed.
Yeah.
Super uncomfortable. But I'm just
Like I
like
know
so like how why?
I I don't know, because it does seem like it's like a conscious choice, but we also like don't necessarily know, because I thought it was interesting that it took so long. So maybe like once, because it seems like supposedly they were like, oh, she's ready. I'm assuming they started channeling to her whenever they said that. So maybe it just takes a little while and Taryn didn't think about it and just assumed
Like it
that
had
Violet
already
wouldn't,
happened.
that it already happened, or that like it wasn't going to happen yet, and so he didn't have to worry about shielding as strongly
Mm.
against
Ah,
her.
but then he got a little overexcited.
Well, like he probably just wouldn't have noticed she was there
Hmm.
if he's, otherwise occupied.
Yeah.
And I'm curious.
What
I
a
don't know, because
what
I
a
thought that delay
fun.
was interesting.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
like, did Andarna? No, Andarna. So this is important to note. Andarna did not start channeling because she can't, because she's still a Feathertail. That is mentioned.
Oh, is it mentioned? I was like, I actually don't know when. So does that mean? Okay, I'm intrigued by that then.
Yeah, like it says, like I have it says something when she's like learning to shield and she's learning to channel. She has to learn how to shield both, but she doesn't have access to Andarna's magic wheel, like the channeling yet, because all Andarna can do is give her power. She can't channel yet.
Channel yet. Okay.
Hmm.
Makes sense.
So, all right. Well, I think that's all I've got.
But yeah, no, I pretty much said all I could think.
Great. It'll be fine. So, everyone who's listening along, it is October 4th right now. And this episode is going to come out on the 21st of October. So if you're listening, I have not yet gone to see Taylor Swift in Miami. That's coming up. And that's why hopefully this episode is editable, because if it's not, you're not going to hear any of this. And we're not going to have this episode because I'm not going to have time to record an episode and also edit it and also post it. Seeing her that weekend. So
Which is exciting.
yeah, I'm very excited.
You should be.
I'm very excited. Also, like Andarna screams, "Who's afraid of little old me?"
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's the best energy. Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. So, not yet. Well, I guess this is kind of spoiler. Not yet. She doesn't. But in the second book, she screams, "Who's afraid of little old me?"
Yes. Yes, she does.
That's a spoiler I am comfortable including in this episode. Andarna is my favorite character, I think.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I do like Andarna, but I would not say she's my favorite.
Who's
I'm
your
very
favorite?
partial to Taryn. Oh, I love Taryn. I love Taryn so much. I love grumpy dragon men. He's like my exception for grumpy men. He's like consistently grumpy, and I appreciate it.
He is consistently grumpy. I just love Andarna and her, like, she's just so, like, willful. Even now, even what we know of her, she
True.
bonded a rider and she was the second dragon to do so. And everyone was like, okay, I guess it's fine, Andarna, whatever. Like, she's so willful, but she's so sweet at the same time. I just love it.
I think she is really intriguing. I feel like we don't know enough about her for me to really feel like I know her whole story, her whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
If it's not
even
clear,
actors
I
they don't know.
immediately love people. I love people so quickly, including in my.
I do not. So
I'm pretty sure that I was in love with Joel, my husband, the moment I saw him. And he knows this. He's aware that you know,
yes,
yeah,
I love
I'm
that. I love
just
that you love with your full soul up
immediately.
front. It's great. Very handy
Thanks.
for those of us that do not the world. So
Yeah, yeah. I found out that Colleen likes K-dramas and fantasy books, and I was like, you're gonna be my best friend now. I'm here.
and I was like, absolutely, that's fine. Agreed. I'll take
Yeah.
it.
Mhm. All right, we've just been rambling for a while, so let's wrap this episode up.
Wrap it up. Alrighty.
All right, bye everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Hi, me again. I am here to let you all know where to find us. You can find us on Instagram at BookWitchesPod. You can find us on Spotify at BookWitches with a B. You can find us on YouTube at BookWitches with a B, and you can find us on TikTok at BookWitchesPod. All of this information is also going to be listed below our episode, and it's going to be listed in the ending credits if you're watching along with us in the videos. We'll catch you guys soon.